Hey everybody, and do I have a treat for you today? You see, we're going to be going up to Bavaria's Riverlands to hike through the Danube Gorge on our way to the world's oldest monastic brewery. I hear they have a pretty famous beer that I can't wait to try out, along with some good food of course as well. And maybe we'll even pick up one of my favorite little souvenirs along the way. Let's go. Weltenburg Abbey is believed to be the oldest monastery in Bavaria. And if that isn't enough, the ancient brewery that they've got going on over there is considered to be the oldest monastic brewery in the whole world. So today's trip will be great for history and beer buffs alike. But that's not all. We won't be arriving to this holy site by a big tour bus or even rolling up to their parking lot either. No. We'll be going the old-fashioned way, on foot. You see, Weltenburg is nestled in a picturesque peninsula right on the pebbly banks of the Danube River as it lazily carves a bend into the gorge. Now, many people simply see this amazing view from the monastery's shores, but that's just not enough for this guy. So instead, we're going to take a roughly hour-and-a-half hike from the next closest town, Camille. How are we going to get there? Well, there didn't seem to be too much in the way of public transport, and you know I didn't want to take one of those big tour buses, so the easiest way for me was to just rent a car here in Munich and hit the road. Alright, so drive over. And if you want to know about renting a car and how that works, hit me up in the comments and maybe we can make a video happen about that. But other than the whole car rental, the whole journey was pretty uneventful. It took about an hour and a half, which is a normal amount of time for me. I think if you've seen most of my Bavarian videos lately, an hour and a half is how long I'd spend on the train or anything like that. So nothing special. What is special though, is that we've been heading north. Now we haven't done that yet. We've always been going south and southeast to all the lakes. So this is going to be a completely different biome. Instead of alpine Bavaria, we're going to be in Riverlands. And I am so thrilled to see it because I think it's going to look awesome in fall with all the changing colors of the leaves. It's going to be great. So let's get walking. Upon exiting your car, don't get too excited too quickly. You've got to purchase your parking ticket and you don't want to forget. And definitely don't forget to put it in your windshield. I spent about €6 on a day pass as I just didn't want to feel rushed while I was hiking about. But after that, it's time for the real adventure to begin as we hike our way to Weltenburg Abbey. First up, head towards the river and turn right, heading away from the parking lot in the town, opting instead towards the river and into the gorge. You'll pass right by a station which offers river cruises, for those who don't feel like walking, but myself, I think I might save that for the return journey. The hike itself, well, it's pretty simple as far as hikes go. All we have to do is continue down the paved path as it turns into gravel and finally dirt, all the while surrounded by amazing autumnal foliage and the mighty Danube for what should be a pretty chilled out walk. This is truly a beautiful section of the river with its mix of pebble beaches, grassy meadows and sheer cliff faces. But after about an hour of walking through this wonderland, you'll encounter a pebbly beach with a dead end, which is the perfect place to take a quick break and to really soak it all in. So what do I think about my first fall hike of the season? Well, overall, it's pretty fantastic. Though that being said, I could see this place being awesome in the summer. I mean, look at all the water. But overall, as a fall hike, I think it's perfect as well. I mean, just look at all of the colors behind us. It's really pretty. You don't really get that in all the places that we've been going down south into the bottom part of Bavaria. I mean, all the trees there are kind of evergreen and all the mountains are beautiful, but it's not what I think of when I think of fall. The Riverlands though, perfect. For now though, time to get up and over this rock if I want to make it to the monastery, and I really do because I'm starting to get pretty hungry. I called this a pretty chilled out walk, but there is a little bit of elevation gain. To get to the incline though, you'll have to go back along the trail a little, going away from the dead end beach. But there's also a steeper footpath right near the end itself, probably trodden by all the people like me who would do anything to skip a little backtracking. It's a bit difficult, but only climbs for about 30 meters, where you'll eventually intercept the actual path and start climbing some real stairs. After about 20 minutes of that, you're going to be rewarded with a variety of awesome lookout points. The last and, most beautiful of which features our final destination, Weltenburg Abbey.
And so that's pretty much all of the hike done. I told you it wasn't going to be that serious. I mean, there was enough elevation from the last time I saw you that got my blood pumping, but overall, you get warmed up and you're back on flat ground until, well, you reach here, of course, which is absolutely magnificent. I mean, there are even people eating lunch here because the view is so wonderful. But I myself, well, I'm excited for that awesomely rated beer and the excellent food and ambiance awaiting for me once I get, well, off of this rock. But to be honest with you, I think I'm most excited to take the little novel ferry ride from one side to the other. That'll be really cool too. Anyway, I'm starving, so let's get down there and get eating.
After spending some time appreciating the view, continue following the path and heading down the other side of the cliff. At last you'll come to a paved road and, well, that's the end of the hike, sadly enough. So all you gotta do now is turn left towards the river and follow it until you come to what feels like a very impromptu boat landing. There's essentially some random guy with a boat will just crash into the shoreline, and for about €1.50, well, he'll take you right back across. So keep those coins handy. I think it's about time we have a bit more detail on this abbey, huh? Well, founded in 617 AD, it's believed to be the oldest in Bavaria, which is pretty cool. And the monastery complex itself features a wonderful ornate Baroque church and a gift shop. But let's be real, the highlight of this abbey has to be by far the beer garden sat right in the central courtyard. Thought to be the oldest abbey brewery in the world, their signature beer, the Assam Bock, is a much darker and more complexly flavored beer than your traditional Bavarian Helles. Instead, what we have here is a decently dark, matured lager, giving a sweet yet earthy and rich tasting beer with a pretty persistent flavor all the way through. No wonder then that with such an interesting recipe and history, this beer is highly regarded among enthusiasts. Don't just drink though, as I find the food here to match the quality of its beer, with a ton of excellent classical Bavarian meals. Lastly, of course then, is dessert, which I'm going to recommend you don't skip, because they have a wonderful traditional Assam cake, but what really sets it apart is the icing, considering it's made using their Assam cloister liqueur. Overall, for me, this is a 10 out of 10 beer garden experience. Would recommend.
All right, so not only having excellent beer, excellent food, and just wonderful cake, this place has what might be one of my favorite little European souvenirs you can get. Maybe they're a little silly, but I quite like them. That's these little €0 notes. They take up no room in your bag, no weight, it's perfect. You just throw them in your wallet, and yeah, each one comes from the specific place that you went, and I actually didn't know this one had it. Just found that at the gift shop, thought that was pretty cool. But now though, all that's left is to get on the boat back to Kelheim, and that's the end of the day, and it's been pretty fun. It's very low key, you get a good walk and good food, what more can you want than that? So I think I'll potter about here for a few more minutes, then I'll head out. I'll see you in the conclusion to talk about it.
Hey everybody, we're back in Munich after our trip to Weltenburg Abbey. So when we sit down and do these conclusions, we think about who we would recommend this day trip for. But for this one, we're having a hard time thinking about who we wouldn't recommend it for. So Ben, why don't you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, no, I think this might be one of the first videos either ever or in a very long time that I just can't help but recommend to everybody. And that kind of falls to two major reasons. Number one, it's just incredibly accessible. Not only do you have kind of a shorter, more manageable hike that I think almost anybody would be able to do, you also have the option to go on the boats both ways. You know, I only took it one way, but you could take it both if perhaps the inclines are very difficult, or if you have mobility issues that just won't allow you to do that kind of thing. You could always go down the paved road to see the river and then backtrack to take the boat. There's definitely a lot of options and ways to get to the Abbey. Far more accessible than our usual fare. Of course, the other part about it is that Weltenburg Abbey itself is a bit more, let's say, broadly appealing than our usual fare, right? Like a lot of people, we've got like the castles and all the ruins, and I don't know, maybe that's not for everybody. Maybe not everyone wants to see a bunch of broken rocks on their vacation. They want to see something a bit more grand. And you know, who doesn't love a good meal and a good drink? And that's what Weltenburg Abbey is going to be able to give you. I mean, the beer is really special, it's really interesting. And then of course the food itself, I actually thought was of really good quality for the price. So I can't help but recommend that to everybody. And yeah, anybody could really just enjoy this on their itinerary, don't you agree?
Yeah, I agree. It was really, really broadly accessible and nice to do. So with that being said, please follow us on Instagram, like, comment, subscribe, and we'll see you next time.
Bye.
You don't know how to eat cake together.
No, we
That
really
much is apparent. You're like two goblins fighting over dessert. Look at you. It's ridiculous. Are you even enjoying it, or are you just shoveling it into your face before the other person does?